been drawing since I was very little. I tell people I started drawing when I started drawing my name. So I have been drawing figures since I was 16, and that's something that I do at LPCA, and I did it in college and everything else. And when I first joined the gallery in Saranac Lake, that's all that I had up on the wall. But Saranac Lake isn't ready for that. And I could see that when people came in. So I've got to really figure out what I'm doing here. And that was in 2001, 2002 that I decided to get into pastel. And because I played with it a lot of times beforehand. And so when I joined the gallery and I started the pastel stuff, there are a couple of artists who work primarily in plein air at that time. And I started hanging out with them a little bit, not very much, because I hadn't got the bug hard enough. But I was doing stuff from my own photographs and going out to paint. And eventually I got really hooked on it. And my particular vision of the kind of work that I like doing is not necessarily the grand views, but the things that you are sort of seeing out of the corner of your eye and going, oh, isn't that cool? You know, it's more of an intimate setting that you're seeing light through the trees, or the lake is sparkling at the edge of a shoreline, and it has nothing to do with an actual place that you're living in. It could be anywhere, air stuff, but lately I'm also finding that I want to have a little bit of a little twist to it. So recently I had a piece accepted at the Remington Art Museum for a show, and that piece isn't just a pretty island, it's called Old Man Island on the St. Lawrence. It's got this cabin up at the top of the hill on the island, and the whole island is covered with all of these piles of discarded tools and turned over wheelbarrows rusting and all kinds of guy stuff, detritus that is just lying around, oh, I'll get to it someday kind of a feel to it. And there's weeds growing up through the lumber and everything. And so when I first got off the boat, when we were taken over there to go paint, I was going, that's really all I want to see right there. Is what I hardly went 10 feet. I did explore the island, but when I came back, it was the first thing that had struck me was that. And it's an interesting piece, I think. It's not the beautiful plein air painting, it's like a comment on what you find out there. The other thing that I have going that is part of my passion for figure is the face-to-face project. Now, sometimes the way an artist works is you get the idea and you work on the beginning of the idea, and until you get through the beginning of the idea, you don't know what's in behind it. And then there's even more stuff in behind that. So, for instance, I get all of these characters painted, and that's a huge deal because that took me a year. I've got 185 of them. But then the next thing is getting them framed, and that's another step-by-step process. And now I'm getting them framed, and now I'm going, I have to buy boxes because it's going to go someplace, and I can't just bring an armload and an armload and an armload. They need to be more protected than that. Portraiture is a very personal, in-your-face, literally kind of thing. It really is, and it's not done very much up here. But this is a project that's going to show it can happen, and it's sort of a snapshot of Saranac Lake for 1 year. You know, that these are the people who wanted to take part of in the project and had no idea what to expect, and they're caught in that moment of surprise or whatever else is going on in their lives. And I just really, I'm glad to be able to give it to Saranac Lake because